So we connected all the libraries to the school network. So a child in the classroom can boot a computer in the library on a secure way, and then go at night to the library and do their homework. The interesting thing is the libraries are only being used by old people who like to go in for a cup of coffee and read a book. And now they're being used by children, so the old people are complaining that the noise level in the library is going up. The library is happy because it's now being used, and you can't please all the people all the time. But anyway, so the children are now going to libraries. They're going in 3s and 4s to do their homework together. We used to call that copying when I was at school. It's now called collaboration. But it's important. We also then took a next step 6 months ago, and we connected the school network to SuperJANA, which is the higher education network. So we now have a child in the primary school, which is maybe 10 years of age, 11 years of age, working the Hubble telescope, using the astrophysics telescope in the Netherlands from their desk. And that will get them into science and into engineering because of the terminal web. As I said, that's a map of Northern Ireland. This is Belfast. I live here, near Armagh. So you can see I was one of the deprived people out of the country with no technology in my school. It's all network connected. We have one directory for the whole country for education. Our role really at HP, and this is the quote the customer used, was to tame that technology so that the teachers could concentrate on teaching and the kids could concentrate on learning and having fun. This slide is important because of the last point. That's what we're doing. It's a totally different way of teaching. It's scary, but it's very rewarding. I was in a primary school last week. I watched 8-year-olds collaborating with another school of a different religion, which would not have happened 8 years ago, on a project about people from Northern Ireland that went to the New World, i.e. America, and made a difference in America, and how did that impact back at home. Believe it or not, Northern Ireland is only 80 miles by 70, population of 1.5 million, and we produce 5 US presidents. I don't know if that's good or bad, but we did that. Another interesting one in the American Civil War, Ulysses Grant, who became president, was born not far from where I live, or his father was. And Stonewall Jackson, one of his biggest adversaries, was born just a little bit further down the road, so the kids will see what it is. Really, what we're providing here is a data center for the whole country. We built that from scratch. Interestingly, we co-locate with the government, so the building is co-owned. If you walked in, you could not tell the difference between educationists and HP engineers. And I think that's the big thing that's made a difference here. And we're responsible for the security of the whole environment, so we have to stop bad material getting in, or bad people getting in, etc., or the kids pulling raw material in. I'll not spend any time on this. I'm going to go through that in more detail later, but this is what we're providing. We're providing a managed learning environment for the community, pupil, teacher, and parent. And they all can get into this, share, collaborate, etc. This is what a 5-year-old gets when it goes to school in Northern Ireland. This is a 5-year-old's input to his classroom. So on the right-hand side, he's got, or she, we've got women without boundaries here today, so I better be careful. On the left-hand side there, we've got the email, the chat, discussion, and video. So a 5-year-old can watch this video, can chat or email. When we were putting this in, the educationists didn't want email, so you can't, or didn't want chat. They said, you cannot chat in school. The kids will not work. We analysed this after a year. 80% of the chat is related to school. 80%. 20% is about other things. Okay? So this little boy, David, what he's doing today in school is he's learning his alphabet, he's going to play some games, and he's going to do some painting. What a fantastic day. This is the next stage, and I'll just run through these, the various stages. This is the post-16 and teacher stage. Same layout. Left-hand side, email, chat, discussion, video, men, so that if the school is showing a a video on, I don't know, tsunamis or something, and the student misses it, they can stream it on their own personal time. This is a notice board from the school, which is the same. This is the courses that the students currently doing, the timetable, some additional notes, and the profile on it over there. The teacher has the learning tracking. And also we're doing continual assessment. There is a discussion in Northern Ireland as to whether or not to stop exams. And I need to stop too, with it. Okay, so really what's the aim of HP is to promote the use of IT to transform the learning and teaching experience. And it's really about getting this golden nugget of content to anywhere, anytime, and the right content. And people ask me, how does that apply? Because Northern Ireland's very healthy, but 500 million. Well, this is where the Northern Ireland project is on the scale. And really, companies are just at different stages on this cycle. I was in Bulgaria last year. We talked about the vision. They've just deployed the infrastructure and teacher training. They want to get to this vision, but they've started down in the bottom. Okay, so that'll just on one conclusion point. Interestingly, ICT is not controlled by social factors. If you go through any of the ghettos in Belfast, and I was in South Africa recently, go past some of the townships, the little huts in the townships, all the satellite dishes and all that phones. So disproportionately, the poor pay more for technology than the middle or upper class. And the future really is the street. So thank you.
Thank you, Clifford. Good morning to all of you. I'm Didier Philippe, and Bob has been asking me also to say, who am I and why do I like education, and the reason for me to be with you this morning. In fact, I'm. Okay. I hope it works now. Is it better? Okay. I've been in HP, in fact, 25 years in different jobs. At the moment, I'm running the social responsibility activity for HP, and something that I will explain to you later on, which is the Micro Enterprise Acceleration Program. But just before, again, just to tell you a little bit more about who am I. I'm also a father of 4, like Clifford, and my kids are between 20 and 30. And interestingly enough, education is still a very important topic, for all of them. And I think it will continue for the rest of their life. The real reason, that I am a strong believer in lifelong learning is what I've seen, coming out from the underdeveloped territories, as soon as we can provide them with not only technology, but really a possibility to develop themselves. And that's what I will try now to explain to you, looking at the Micro Enterprise Acceleration Program. I need to explain a few things so that I can, I do not have a lot of slides, so you just need to listen to me, and I will go with you through different things, just to raise your appetite on the type of program that we are running. What you have seen in the presentation before, in fact, what is called formal education, the standard curriculum and universities and so on. I'm now going to speak about what UNESCO and others are calling non-formal education. There is a huge area where in fact you can enhance the education capabilities of kids and young adults and entrepreneurs and small business owners through a specific type of curriculum And this is what MAP is about. MAP is about, the possibility to increase the sustainability of the small businesses, starting with entrepreneur, micro business, and small business. And this is a very important factor of economical growth in a given country. Bess will be speaking after me, but I'm pretty sure that Bess will be also explaining, all the learning that we have been getting within HP by doing community development at different stages. And everywhere we have been, and everywhere we have been participating in community development, it has been coming back as a very strong message to us, to HP, and to the partners with who we were working, that education is absolutely necessary, and education for, in fact, getting a job is absolutely necessary. And education, and Ross has been mentioning that by mentioning that not only you need to teach how to fish, but you need to teach how to package a fish so that you can start and draw economical development. That's exactly what MAP is about. MAP is about, the possibility of increasing the sustainability of the micro businesses, small businesses. Okay. So if you look at what I'm saying in terms of non-formal education and in terms of helping the economical development of a given country from the fact that we increase or we decrease the rate of failure of the small businesses, then you know what I'm going to speak about regarding MAP. Maybe you can move to the list of questions. What you will see now is something probably difficult to read, but I know that your brain is organized in such a way that you can read at the same time and listen to what I say, even if what I'm going to tell you is in fact not exactly matching line by line what I show. Okay? So like that you have how can I say that, a dual way of getting the messages. Okay? So what you will see there in the definition of the MAP, Micro Enterprise Acceleration Program for HP. But what I'm going to speak about are the very important point, in fact, that I would like to convey to you this morning, and probably to get some of your questions on. I will take the example in order to explain, the key characteristic of this program of Egypt, and like that you can really follow what I will be saying. So, as I say, the Micro Enterprise Acceleration Program is a holistic approach sponsored by HP, facilitated by HP, in order to help micro businesses to get access to technology, touching products, accessing, not only PCs, but also everything that is needed on an education center, to help the education center itself in order to provide the correct curriculum to the micro businesses, and to help, in fact, the organization that is called BDS, Business Development Services. The BDS is a training organization, local organization, that is delivering the training in a room like this one, to the micro business. This is what the process in order to really give the correct information to the people that are training the small businesses. Okay. So you have the small business, you have the BDS that is directly training the users, and this is not it. You need to, and now I'm coming to the important point regarding the implementation of the program. What you need to know is that the two important things when you develop such a program is sustainability and scalability. It's very important if you want to really have an impact in a given country or in a given area to make sure that what you are going to put in place is not a one-shot pilot activity that you can do by sponsoring or philanthropy and so on. But as you know, it cannot go very far because not all pockets have some you need to stop somehow. So it's important that whatever you build, has by itself the possibility to continue. And this is the beauty, if I can say that, about the MAP program. Maybe you can move on the next page so that you can read at the same time. And how HP has been really building up a model in order to ensure as much as possible, scalability and sustainability. And the model is, in fact, a several-tier approach of partner. And this is what I really would like, this is my message of the day, it's a partnership model that is created in order to have MAP centers. And again, I will take Egypt as an example, and I will give you the name of the partners with which we are working. It's necessary to really build up this scalability and sustainability. So the partner model works at different levels. We have local partners, and that's absolutely fundamental that the needs and the direct access to the micro businesses are done by the local level. So there is no top-down approach regarding the way the content, the stimulation of the small market, the small enterprise will be done. This is done by the local level. And the pull and the drive is coming from the local community. In Egypt, we are in Alexandria and in Cairo. And in both places, with these centers, and again, the centers are like this room, and you have small businesses coming and to be trained and so on. And this is directly pulled by the local organization. In Alexandria, we work with ABA, which is the Alexandria Business Association. In Cairo, we work with FTTC, which is the Foreign Trading Center, and they are specialized, in fact, in training small businesses for exportation. So the local level is absolutely necessary and critical in such a network. However, you cannot work only with the local people, and you cannot work only with local organizations. If you take, for example, ABA, they do not exist in Cairo, or they do not have the capability of really helping small businesses in Cairo. They are in Alexandria, and they know the place, and they know how to really develop small businesses for Alexandria. So you need to have, on top of that, what we've been calling global partners that are going to bring the capability of bridging between the different PDS that are the local people, and also ensuring the long-term sustainability. So in Egypt again, and since I've been taking that example, we work with the International Trade Center, which is one of the UN organizations specialized in training for export companies. And ITC directly contact with the different ministries of industry, Ministry of IT, Ministry of Exportation, and so on. And they make the link, they bridge the link between the local level and the higher level. And like that, not only we have not center, independent center, but we are building up a network of centers. And yeah, I see that it's hardly readable, but anyway, I continue. By bridging this network center, it will continue by itself. So HP has been really promoting, acting as a starter, establishing the network of partners that have been creating these different centers. As today, we have in fact established 20 of these centers in 11 countries. And the next step is to connect these centers together and to have them work, in sharing best practices and enhancing their capability by sharing information through online services. So again, what I wanted to show to you is an example of what has been done in terms of non-formal education, establishing a network of partners that have the capability of ensuring stability and sustainability of something that will grow, and like an organic growth, the idea, the intent, and what really we are working very, very much on is to make sure that the seed that has been planted and the beginning that we've been really pushing very hard, will continue by itself and by the natural collaboration between the different players. I mentioned Egypt. I mentioned that we've been setting up 20 of these centers. You know, we are in Nigeria. We are in Egypt, as I mentioned. We are in Israel. We have been starting up with the World Economic Forum and the Palestine Education Initiative, a center in Palestine. We are in Russia. We are also in the EU, and we absolutely look at having a combination of work, collaboration between these different territories all over Europe, Middle East, and Africa. That's an important goal. Everywhere we have been working through very high level type of global partners. That's also very important to see that you need very good local people, but you need very good global organizations so that you can really develop, you know, on a long-term basis by having, you know, the correct funding and the correct benefit for all the stakeholders. So in several of these countries, we are working with the Chamber of Commerce. In several of these countries, we are working also with the Technology Park Association. And some of these centers are directly in the middle of Technology Park. And the idea of these countries, for example in Finland, is very, very much to push up entrepreneur, micro-business, small business, but on the technology side, on the high-end level. So in a nutshell, this is what I wanted to explain to you today, you know, just to show you a brief example of a way of setting up that type of partnership, you know, for long-term success in terms of non-formal education.
So we're going to switch from the HP for just a minute. Bess, who is our philanthropy VP, and I both agree it would be wonderful to hear from our partners that we work with, and then conclude with the philanthropy and reflections. Thank you very much, DDA. That was just the perfect segue. So at this point, we're going to ask Yulia. Yes. Do we have Yulia's presentation? It's this one right here. Oh, we didn't do it great. So, how are people doing from a bio perspective? Would a 5-minute break help, or you want to just?
Oh, that's good.
You want a 5-minute break while we get this ready to go? Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. And coffee's right out there, and we'll come back.
The format of the conference, which is to basically load the 2 hours full of information, and then people have coffee and lunches and dinners to explore further. I'll have a few minutes, but the gist of it really happens outside the session. Okay, with that, we'll move to.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm here to talk to you about one of our projects, entitled Piloting Solutions for Alleviating Brain Drain, which UNESCO developed with the help of Hewlett Packard. I will start by a few remarks concerning UNESCO's activities in general. Ross mentioned before our activities as a catalyzer. UNESCO brings people together, we organize wonderful conferences and meetings and so on. We are known also for our normative action, but and increasingly our activities go on the ground, and we develop development activities in the fields of culture, education, communication and information, and science. In the field, we have a network of 50 offices around the world which have a different geographical coverage. And I myself belong to the Venice office, which is the regional office for Europe. And in our office, we have a focus on Southeastern Europe, especially after the year 2000, and you understand why. It's because after the conflicts there, UNESCO started a special strategy to enhance cooperation with its member states, and to try to rebuild dialogue through our specific activities. Well, I will just mention that UNESCO's mission, the mission, is to build peace in the minds of men. In the Constitution, it was mentioned only men. Today, hopefully, it will be men and women or even men. Anyhow, you will understand why we try to define specific strategies in post-conflict situation and also for prevention. With the prevention goal. In Southeastern Europe, therefore, the Venice office had a very specific objectives to try throughout activities in culture and science to rebuild cooperation between these people who were poor. Well, one of the problems of the region was and still is the brain drain, the massive emigration of intellectuals. Universities in Albania and Bosnia and Herzegovina in particular lost till 70–80% from their human resources who just left. This is why our sector for education and higher education defined a project trying to find solutions to alleviate brain drain. UNESCO worked towards finding solutions, but of course, solutions for the brain drain is very difficult. This is why we entitled our project Piloting Solutions. We signed an agreement of cooperation with Hewlett Packard, who responded positively to our fundraising activities. And in July 2003, we launched the project in Venice by bringing together decision makers from concerned countries. At the beginning, there were only 3 countries from the Balkans, but with a clear objectives from the beginning to extend the project to other areas in the world, in particular Africa and Latin America. The director of our Harare office was present at this meeting. Rene was also present in our meeting in Venice in July 2003. Well, the operational objectives, I just mentioned them. We just try to find a solution to turn brain drain into brain gain. How could we involve people who are already abroad in activities, research activities developed home in their home countries? And how, through ICT technology, to establish virtual communities of researchers. We also, from the beginning, tried to target the multiplier effect. We said, let's see what will happen, what type of projects will be able to develop. It will tell specific and selected universities and teams, you will be given this technology and some funding to travel abroad. What would you do with this? I think that the flexibility in our approach was one of the main, how can I say, one of the activities who then led to the success of the project, because people felt they were not imposed something. Because in general, we are told you have to do this, you can have this, but for this target or for these activities. But what happened, we were flexible. We let them be involved in whatever their interest in research were. So the partners were UNESCO, the Venice office, and Hewlett Packard University Relations and Philanthropy. And the Hewlett Packard contribution was really essential for the implementation and the development of the project. And I really believe that there is a big complementarity between the private and the public sector, because the private sector has knowledge in certain fields we don't have. I really believe that part of the success is due also to the involvement of the Hewlett Packard, not only in the not only in the fundraising and the donation and the implementation of the project, but also in their technical support and in the on the ground participation in the implementation. So beneficiary universities, they were 7. We started with 5. And then the second year of the project, this year, we involved 2 other universities, Tirana and Skopje. Why 5 universities? Is because within UNESCO, we try to involve all communities. So we try to involve Serbs and Bosnians in Bosnia and Herzegovina. We paid attention really to have this project developed in both communities. Well, we are just after 2 years, less than 2 years since the project started, and the 2 latest faculties joined the project just this year. But what they did is they established databases with people who left the countries. They established also websites concerning the project and so on. This was one of the activities they mentioned since the very beginning they were willing to develop. But then also they went abroad to visit people from their diaspora who were active in different universities, research institutes abroad. And now they undertook more than 40 exchange visits in both senses. People from the diaspora who came home to give lectures, to meet people, and so on. They have started in the meantime a lot of research projects in cooperation with people from the diaspora. As you can see, they didn't travel only to the US and Canada, but they traveled a lot in the Russian Federation, also in Chile and Argentina, because, for example, there is a big community of Croatians in Argentina and this kind of things. This is just an example of one of the projects they developed lastly. It happens that the Macedonian partner within the project is also a member in the SE Grid project funded by the European Commission and led by the GRNet, which is the Greek academic network. They have used our donation in order to create the Macedonian grid cluster. Here you have the example of their lab, and they very much encouraged all the other universities to join the grid community, the European grid community. What we did afterwards is that we have tried to involve all the other universities to join the grid. We have also organized many regional meetings and allowed people to meet together, to know each other, and it had really a very important added value because all these people who are from communities that were beforehand, they met, they knew each other, they started projects in cooperation one with each other. Here there is a photo from our recent meeting at CERN, where we organized a workshop together with HP and CERN. Due again to the Hewlett Packard involvement in the project, 2 of the universities, Sarajevo and Split in Croatia, were able to join the Gelato Federation. They were really very happy and excited about this. All the others want to join them, and they applied to join the Gelato Federation. And this was really seen in the region as a big success for them. I was mentioning the multiplier effect, the fact that they are now all of them, part of the SE Grid project led by the GRNet. This project, the EE Grid project, which is a project bringing together universities, more than 100 universities and research centers, the grid community from helpful. In June also, due to the contribution of Hewlett, Packard, and we organized this workshop in CERN in September with other major organizations, European Space Agency, many universities from Europe and abroad concerning grid computing. The workshop was entitled Grid, the Key to Scientific Cooperation. Something very important is the project had a very big impact on the decision makers at political level. Therefore, here you have a picture of the launch event in Skopje. The Prime Minister attended the event. Here is the inauguration event in Sarajevo. And for the first time after 10 years, the rector of the Sarajevo University and the rector of the East Sarajevo University were present at the same event. They are sitting next to one to each other. And really all the community present there told us what you did here is something no one could have predicted. Each of the launch events, ministers had to commit themselves towards finding solutions for this problem concerning brain drain. So the project had a very important added value from this point of view. So in the next follow-up activities, together with CERN and with HP, we foresee to organize a grid training event in 2006 and to extend the project to other European countries. We target Moldova, Ukraine, Bulgaria, and Romania, which are where the rate of the brain drain is also very important, and also to Africa, hopefully also to other regions around the world. I would invite you to attend the event tomorrow from 11 to 12 in UNESCO booth. You will be able to find more about the project and also to assist one of the presentations from the Belgrade University concerning the project. They will explain what they did there. They developed a very interesting project of e-lab experiments, which they developed after their exchange visits with the Polytechnic of Lausanne. Thank you.
So these two workshops are actually one flows into the next. So we're going to take bio breaks as we need them and just keep going. And we'll, I'd like to ask your questions. Would you like us to continue with the presentations and then have a Q&A or pause more frequently for questions? Which would you prefer? At this point, we're going to have one more presentation, but
So we're just
do you
checking.
have a preference, or would you like us to just keep going? Okay, we'll keep going. Okay, thank you, Edith. And Edith's the one who gave us the beautiful brochures.
Some more brochures are available if somebody is left out. Thank you very much. I missed out of the part of who I am in the presentation, but I do it in person now. So who I am a social scientist, but of course I wasn't born as a social scientist. I was born as a little curious girl into a family which was quite turbulent actually. I grew up in the countryside in a very remote area, so I can relate to the situation of people I visit in remote villages in Africa. When I grew up at the easternmost province, at the Iron Curtain, actually the Iron Curtain was our garden, the backyard of the garden. You know, there was nothing. There was no library, there was of course no computer, there was only a movie. My aunt, my great aunt, returned from the United States, had this fabulous idea to bring a cinema to the village. So we were in the center of everything. Unfortunately, she was a great censor. So when she saw that some scenes are inappropriate, she jumped in front of the the most exciting part of this movie. I grew up in a family with a very strong grandmother working on the farm, organizing this farm. She did everything that her daughters could study. So I'm the daughter of one of the daughters. At this time, the region was quite poor. Many members of my family went to the United States as immigrants there, to work for their nest egg in old age. So somehow everything was floating when I was young. And since my mother was very ambitious and she became a professional woman, actually coming into the crossfire, because at the time in the late 50s when there was quite high unemployment, she chose to go for a career and was accused that she's taking away jobs from men. You see at this time history. But she always said, you must be what you want to be. And actually, this became the motto of Women Without Borders. Be what you want to be. And it's the motto of our work, of our members. I studied sociology and communication theory, philosophy. I became a therapist. I did psychoanalytic training. And all things which don't sound very useful, but following the motto of my family, I have the privilege to work on what I envision. And what a privilege it is to work on your personal capacities and also shape the tools, to look into possibilities of the society, bringing the personal and the political together. And this was the time of the advent of the women's movement. And I thought, I'm so privileged, to be part of this movement. We consider this to be a human rights movement. We didn't see this big gender divide. I think it was somehow laid out right from the beginning. And many courageous and committed and empathetic men worked with us. During this time, I became an assistant professor at the university. Those were still, also the late 60s, quite feudal times. You belonged not only to a department, you belonged to a particular professor. So you were kind of a personal property. And the more you achieved for him and his career, his glory, the better you were off in terms of your later career. But what I learned at this time, I don't complain about it. What I learned that you can organize a parallel reality. And I think we live in times where it is very, very important to organize this kind of parallel, not identities, but realities, think in alternatives. We live in very critical times, and I think this is a huge gift we can use. So, in my professional career, very soon, I became very critical of mainstream academia, and I started looking into subjects which were not mainstream, like violence against women, when the existence of violence was questioned. So I applied for grants, and no wonder we got these grants. And very soon, my life at the university was not very sustainable. But luckily, the Minister of Science and Education became aware of my first publications. And at the very tender age of 28, she asked me whether I would like to, I would like to be part of her academic institutions, which is a high-profile academy existing of a number of independent institutions, scientific institutions, and this gave me a lot of freedom for the future to go on with the research I intend to do. And most of the research was gender-related, and somehow I took this slogan of the women's movement, the personal is political, very personal, and I always looked into the key questions of my own life. For example, when I found the first stepping stones in my own career, I wondered, how are other women doing? So we linked up with other women, formed alliances, and came up with research proposals. And somehow, this also changed the landscape of academia. It was very empowering, self-empowering, and also, I think, quite important in a broader sense. And when I got kids, I was very interested, how girls grow up in the society today. And I was very worried about this whole body image thing, and we looked into the Barbie craze, and we came up with a project in the book, Let's Be Barbie. So I think this is a it's very worthwhile enterprise. And finally, I had a son, and I realized how different, somehow, honestly, how different I was treated, how overprotective I was, because I considered the little males as the weaker sex, you know, they must be spoiled, and girls are much stronger and more self-competent. So I spoiled this poor lad, you know, and finally I saved him through a research project, which became a 5-year project. The first part was Mothers Make Men, and we came up with this. And I just tell this short story because it reflects in the labor work of Women Without Borders. And many women, actually, when the whole thing Mothers Make Men came up, it happened during conversations and lectures on various levels, at university level or in public meetings. And there was always one woman who said, yes, I like what you say, but don't we mothers raise the future generation? It's always furious. So I think when we become very upset and furious, there's always something to it. We should risk a second look at it. So we did this project, and very soon we became very interested in the construction of little males, you know, and if we talk about deconstruction of sex roles, we must look into the construction process. So this was then about boys in their puberty. The research project had the title Lonely Cowboys, and we investigated quite closely why is it cool to be cool. So this is also very important when we look at our politicians, you know, how they interact and how defensive they are and how difficult it is to have an in-depth discussion. So I think, again, on the political level, these questions are very, very important. And in Chang, we started Women Without Borders only 4 years ago. And actually the start was a research project again, when the Taliban were all of a sudden there in Afghanistan. Women in the West were thinking, you know, what can we do about it? And we also, with our research group in Vienna, were sitting there, and we thought we can only somehow contribute with our skills, with social science, with research skills. And we decided, I've done research in Pakistan, in Afghanistan years before, so I knew people there. So we decided to come up with a research project to collect evidence, you know, to do some kind of oral history project during the times when the Taliban were there, so that we don't have to do it 50 years later, like in the whole Holocaust business. So we went there with women with cameras, and they taped all the horrific scenes we have seen on CNN, you know, the assassination of women in public places, in the football stadium, and so on. So all of a sudden, this women's issue became an issue of worldwide concern. And what we watched was how women's alliances were formed, how women, I mean, women who never participated in a journalistic course, you know, who were women from the countryside, who were midwives maybe, who were teachers, all of a sudden came up with this incredible project, making their situation visible. And when I remember the scene, sitting in the shower and watching the Afghan women leaving our base and going over the border, which is quite porous, so it was quite easy to cross the border, it came into my mind that we have to forget about borders, that we have to find ways to come together and to cross borders. And all of a sudden, this labels there, Women Without Borders, who all must be women without borders. So this was the start of the organization. We finished the research project, and actually when it was done, at the very end, and when we finally found a publisher and it was out, the Taliban were gone. And one of our close contacts became the first gender minister, Sima Samar. So we invited her for the launch of Women Without Borders to Berlin and to Vienna, and for the promotion of the book. And she accepted, and I was very surprised because I thought, you know, very busy lady now at this point of history. And she said, actually she gave me her email, and it was, I'll never forget the name of the email, Painted Wolf. And I said, Sima, painted wolf, what kind of email is that for a minister? And she said, you know, for us women, they haven't set up the email accounts yet. We come last, you know. But we don't want to complain. We want to focus on the real issues. We don't want to be the complaining women in some corner and sitting there waiting. So I took the email address of my son. So Painted Wolf was the start of the women's ministry in Kabul. And when she came to Berlin, unfortunately I was 3 days late because I was in Rwanda at that time and missed planes and I missed her, and because before that we wanted to do some press work before we started the launch. I was very nervous because I thought all our wonderful press work is gone, everybody will fall over Sima and question her about the situation of the women in Afghanistan. But no, when I arrived there in Berlin, she was in her room, she was in seclusion. Perhaps I didn't take her anywhere. You know, she was just there, left on her own. Receiving the flow of exiles, welcoming them, drinking tea to ring the bells and make the world aware, you know, of all these issues. And that security can only be inclusive security. Inclusive security means gender security. Okay, so this was the start of Women Without Borders, and now we started several projects, and at the beginning, you know, it was a little bit difficult because we tested so many areas, but we decided to work in areas of transition, to focus on political and economic inclusion, and our tools, of course, are education, information, and we focus on visibility of women. And our first really big research project now is closing the gender gap in the Middle East, and I would like to thank Hewlett who made it possible that we came up with this brochure and with the presentation. And we were thinking that the Knowledge Society is a wonderful opportunity for women, because women made a jump start into the Knowledge Society. When you look at the literacy numbers, for example, in Saudi Arabia, in the late 60s, we had 6% of all women were literate. Now, 70% of the women are literate. Only in 35 years or so, we made this incredible jump. At the same time, women in higher education already outsmart their male colleagues in the Middle East as well, like everywhere, worldwide. So we have joint concerns, joint issues. So this megatrend is moving through the world, in the Middle East, is on the move in this arena. I think the most important thing is now to make use of these talents and energies, and to push the 21st century to maybe a more peaceful place, include women's skills. And when you look at the media, at the latest magazines, at the newsstands, for example, the last Newsweek, How Women Lead, is on the title. Middle Eastern women, keepers of the peace, so the hopes are quite high. And when you look at the latest studies of the World Economic Forum, there is evidence that in those countries where the women participation is beyond 30 or 40%, that military expenses go down and expenses for education and for health go up. So those are parameters which I think should encourage us to look into this future female talent pool of already existent female talent pool. So we thought, living in these critical times, the Middle East is a really big challenge, and when you watch the news, it's everything is about the Middle East, about Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, and we took up this challenge and we came up with a research proposal, and the scientific fund for research supported this proposal to look into the future of Arab leadership, to look into bridging the gap, empowerment strategies for the new female Arab leadership. We choose 3 countries, Saudi Arabia as a traditional and quite close society. We Jordan, and the Emirates. The Emirates are of particular interest because there's quite a body of research done on the Emirates. The Emirates, within, I think, 40 years, emerged from a desert nomadic culture to a high-level oil-rich nation. So this is very interesting. Women are on the move there, still bound by tradition and by a lot of challenges, but technology is there, and above all, the will to connect is there. And in this research project, we try to raise the question: what do the women want to do with their missions? What are their future plans? How do they intend to contribute to their societies? And interestingly enough, when you look at the figures of the graduates, I think they are also graduating 60 to 70% females from the universities, but the numbers are not reflected in the workforce. So it's very interesting to look into the stepping stones. You know, is it are those purely traditions? Is it the personal life that stands in the way? Is it the self-confidence? Do the women in the Middle East fall into the same self-confidence traps as we do? We did a number of research projects sponsored by Procter & Gamble when the scientific funds dried up. Fortunately, the corporate world was in place through their social responsibility programs to sponsor such research programs, and we learned a lot through them. It is not always the environment; it is also the personal outfit, you know. So we as women often need a makeover, you know, to join forces and to change corporates or societies or whatsoever. And I think, especially for the West in these critical times, it's a wonderful opportunity to reach out to the women and connect with the female half of the societies. Okay? So what we do in this project is we run a survey in these 3 countries. We will, there will be questionnaires for 3,000 students, students at the entry level of college, male and female students, graduate students, and 3 years afterwards. We would like to look what made their life choices work, or what prevented them to realize their potential. The next step, and actually this is something that came from the women themselves, would be to look closer into media empowerment strategies. I remember when we worked with girls and young women in Rwanda, we did young girls' parliaments with them. We asked them, what do you really want to do besides all these wonderful empowerment seminars and girls' parliament sessions? What do you really want to do besides that? And they said, we want to play football. So we started football clubs, and there are 10 clubs now going on. And we found that if you know, we see now that this connection works very well. The football clubs really motivate them to stick to their girls' parliament sessions, you see, and they come up with ideas like, you know, we need a female sport minister. This will give a different face to our work. We need to show that we are on the move, that we're mobile, that we're energetic. So a completely different spirit came to the whole thing. And when we talked to the African women, we asked when we come next time to Kabul, what should we bring? What would you like that we carry in our luggage? And they said, lipsticks, we need lipsticks. So I think we should really listen what they want, And we found that there's always an interconnection with ourselves, you know. We love, you know, lipsticks, we love to play football, or, you know, we are into competitive games as women, and we draw a lot of strength out of it. So sitting with focus groups for this project, we asked the women, so what would you really need? What is missing, you know? How can we turn this project into a laboratory, into something we develop together, you know? We don't impose anything. So they said, you know what would be so wonderful? You tell us about Arab news, you see? Because we have a team sitting on the English website, reading daily news, what's going on in women's lives in the Arab world. But actually, we would like to do it on ourselves. We don't have the training, we don't have the capacity. But then we discussed this at length, And all of a sudden, the idea was there to come up with this interactive participatory web platform on women's issues, the Women Information Net for the Middle East, which would be located in the Middle East, which would be run by a group of women, but journalist colleges, various departments would join in, would contribute their know-how, and this would be something which would really be very empowering and something about ownership, you know, it would be their base of information and knowledge and a place to experiment as well. So this is our vision, the Women Information Net. The idea is that you have a daily news service. There are examples out there already, like the Women's Feature Service. It's based in Delhi, and they provide worldwide information on women, but it's very, actually it's very Indian, and it's a complicated process of logging in. So this should be more accessible, I think. We in Austria, we have a quality daily paper, Der Standard, the standard, and they came up with something on the net, a daily women's news line. It's called The Standard, the female form, and you find news all over the world. And I think it's highly fragmented. And it's the first thing I switch on in the morning. It's research from all over the world, so it should be something like that. It would be a wonderful tool to enable women engaged in the information society, maybe to overcome the digital gender divide, and if not overcome, to be part of the discussion. This would be so much, you know, to step into this arena, to raise awareness for the legal culture of women, provide online classes. This is a feature, I think, which would be very, very important. When I listened to the presentation about Africa, I thought about it. We are running now several girls' parliaments concepts, encouraged by the Rwandese women, who all of a sudden occupied, I think, 49% of the parliament seats in female hands. And they, it wasn't a miracle yet, not why, because Kagame was such a wonderful feminist rebel all of a sudden emerging